I don't know why my desktop audio levels are so low. Wonder if it was always like that. Who knows? All right, slay the spire. All right, YouTube is good. Wahoo! Yeah. I think everything's good to go. Not exactly sure where I want this. Maybe right here. All right. Put some music back on. I haven't played this game enough to get sick of the music, so we'll have some nice music. Climbed Ascension 10 on Ironclad. That was medium difficulty. Climbing to Ascension 10 on Necrobinder was pretty easy. Climbing on Silent has gone well so far, but I'm notably worse on Silent. So I think I'm just better at the game in general, but bad at Silent. But I'm still winning most of my runs. Still haven't quite figured out what I want to do with her. We'll start soon. Let's make the green screen work and get the cat hair off of my... Oh, it's very wrinkly. I need to get the cat hair off of my face too. But currently I'm petting a cat and that really is counterproductive. Niao's Fury. I don't think so. Ooh, I don't think I've seen Lost Coffer before. A cardboard and a potion. I don't think that's very good. Alright, we are in statue map. We have to be able to beat statue. Surely with shivs, that'll be no problem. Not a lot of opportunities for elites. Hey Ubers, how you doing? Unless we like somehow take this really early one up here. Maybe we just focus on like upgrades and card rewards. Ah, this is awkward. I don't like any of these. But I've never taken this one before, so maybe we just take it to take it. Or maybe Niao's Fury is good on the silent. I don't see why that would be the case. I think this all sucks. Let's take Meow's Fury. And we are furious that we had to take it. It's 10 or 14 damage. And it's kind of like 2 draw if you really squint your eyes. Gives you things from your discard. All right, and then I think I'm gonna go up on the left. If I was really feeling it, I could go up the middle, get some early game. All right, like what if I go up here, right? We just beef up at an early shop. Make sure we have potions. Let's take 1 elite. If we're feeling good, we can do 2 elites. But I don't know, man. Statue is rough. Well, let's live a little. Worst case scenario, we die in Act 1. Well, I feel like I never have both of these guys attack me. We can deal 15 damage. We can deal 9. Kill little guys. And block. Meow's Fury is here with the perfect 10 damage. And it's going to grab either Neutralize or Survivor. Whoa! Alright, that was actually really good. That was actually really good. Meow's Fury busted? Hey, Bio. Teach me how to play the silent. Okay, I said we needed shivs for the elite. That being said, Precise Cut is a good early game card. This is good for longer fights and DPS. Oh, I see. I think we're gonna take this as an early game card though. Like definitely up my sleeve, it's what I want later. But in terms of this path and trying to take some early elites, we're gonna take some early game power. Synergy with Meow's Fury. I do not like Meow's Fury, but I hated my options for Meow. All right, to give me something good here. Okay. Again, I'm just trying to get some early game cards so I can do a 3 elite path in Act 1. I'm gonna worry about scaling more later. Kind of want Splash. I've had some good experiences with Splash before. And it's kind of a fun card. Like Splash. I should have bought a potion though. I should have bought a potion. That was the wrong call. Meow's Fury is here and Splash is here. Ooh, the Regent. We could get a sword. If we play 3 cards, we get this, or 3 skills, we get this back. None of this is really helping me here. We're probably not gonna proc that again, but that's fine. No, just block. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. Oh man. I didn't realize I would count the splash as one of those. Alright. And is it only from discard? No, it's not only the discard. So what I can do is 1, 2. Well, it actually doesn't matter which one of those I play. It'd be the same damage. 11 damage from that precise cut. Huge. Winjo with the resub. Thank you so much. 106 months. Winja, loyal Slay the Spire player, loyal math professor, listener. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Let's take the scythe. I saw the ancient bonus the other day where you can choose up to 15 Necrobinder cards. That was so funny. I did that on my Ascension 7 silent run. I took like Invoke, I took Delay, I took I don't know, something else. It was, I wish I could have seen like Domain. 106 math points, yeah. All right. Is Infinite Blades too much? We're gonna need some block cards soon. I haven't played with Infinite Blades yet on this. On this game. Transform or upgrade? Probably transform. None of my upgrades are insane. Transform one of these strikes. And we get bullet time. Bullet time is much better in this game, in my opinion. Energy is a lot harder to come by. So some draw would be good with bullet time if I can get bullet time upgraded. We do need block for sure. Bullet time notably synergizes with Niao's Fury. You cannot draw. But you can place from your discard pile, I imagine. All right, we have no potions because I was a dummy. All right, at least it's not the statue. Bullet time is here. It's gonna... Oh, Niao's Fury is here. It's free to play this turn. Does that mean if I get it back with Niao's Fury, it's still free? Oh. Well, these are bad. Why is Splash giving me such trash? Do I want to take 4 damage or deal 6? We should probably kill this guy. Precise cut is here. Infinite Blades is going to be at least 4 damage, probably 8 or 12. We're getting chipped. We need to kill this thing soon. Hopefully next turn. Taking 8 more damage. Alright, we kill it next turn. Alright, not a terrible elite fight for having no potions. I wish Splash were better. Right, why did I not grab either of these for my first splash? Either one of these would be so much better. Meteor Strike. Boom. Petrified Toad, a wonderful early game relic. Not good later, but a good early game relic. We do have bullet time. We do need block. Flick Flack could actually, though, be helpful for the Parasite. The Parasite could be popping up very shortly. I don't think I love this card, but we're just adding more slop into our deck. Dodge and roll feels really good with footwork. All right, let's see if Niao's Fury works how I want it to work. Devastate. Boom. Niao's Fury. Oh. All right, bullet time is only free to play once. does not work in the Owl's Fury how I wanted it to work. Very disappointed. Fly is good. That's good. Wait, do I want a rock or do I want Vuln? I would have to deal 30 damage for the Vuln potion to be 15. I think I'm gonna keep the rock actually. Pinpoint pretty good a lot of times. I would really like some discard. All right, we're adding a little bit too much slop. I've got a little bit too much slop. Let's take some more. I have never added this many card rewards before. Oh gosh. I'll take the heal. I like upgrading, but this lets me take another elite. It's the frog. Ooh. Well-laid plans good with bullet time. Master planner would be great if I had more than survivor. Footwork always solid. I think we're gonna take the plans. Too weak, too vulnerable, but I can't play it again. I can't play it again. This becomes a curse. But it's good. And then we can always rock it next turn, or maybe save a rock for... Oh, Hattie is barking. Okay. We can pop it, right? 15, yeah, pop it into a flick. Flick flack. Save the bullet time. Yeah, bullet time next turn will be good. Flick flack. And we can rock if we need to. Blocking for 11, so we'll kill one of these guys. 8 and 6. We'll kill you and then kill you. Very good. Again, we still have the rock if we need it. That was a perfect flick flack. I always knew that card was good. Alright, we're just gonna kill you. And then you are 13 damage, are you not? Neat. Akabeko. So if we can get something like some kind of multi-attacker AoE that makes Akabeko better. I always sleep on accuracy. I think Anticipate's quite good too, but I need more draw. And I do still need block. And I do still need discard. I need a lot of things. I need to stop taking slop, I think. All right, accuracy it is. Horn Cleat, very good. Although it will not be very good for the statue that we're coming up against. Gonna upgrade bullet time, I think, for when I eventually get... Actually, upgrading bullet time for an eventuality is not super smart. Oh, don't I have well-laid plans? No, that was the power potion. Upgrading bullet time doesn't actually, well, it kind of helps me with Meow's Fury actually. And it will help me later once I have like an acrobatics or something. Definitely would really like a well-laid plan so that bullet time. Okay, we are certainly throwing rocks here. I think just kill this guy. Ooh, Akabeko with the 15. Let's do that. We have no discard. We could instead kill this guy with a double rock. And then we take 0 damage if we kill this guy. Actually, is that true? Yeah. Do we want a double rock though? Yeah, it's fine. We won't get to play our shivs, but the fight should be short anyway. Splash. Sunder. Wait, Sunder does not have near the cool sound effect it did in the first game. Okay, that's finally discard. I would have been very happy with this card at the beginning of the act. I am less happy with Dagger Throw right now. But I truly do need some discard, so maybe I'm just desperate. What am I upgrading? Two damage per turn, late game. I think Splash is a pretty good early game upgrade too. All right, let's take that last elite. 3 pretty comfy elites it's gonna look like. Where's my Flick Flack? This thing's gonna hurt me. I think we deal... Oh, whatever. 14-8. Guess we didn't need a block. Let's see if we can save this rock. Flick Flack? No. Slithering Strangler. Oh, I didn't read the debuff. I took 1 damage. Uppercut. Neat. Flick Flack. Hey, Acrobatics, I was looking for you. Acrobatics specifically wonderful because I have bullet time, and that is what I want to upgrade. It's going to give me access to more discard. I'm drawing a bunch of cards, so it's easier to find the card I want to discard. And, okay, here we are. Infinite Blade's accuracy on turn 1 is nice. We will save the attack potion for after we've played the shivs. Maybe if we play Splash first as well, then we can... Well, that'll give us an extra card play. Maybe we can draw bullet time right here. No. Seven stars. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we have accuracy, so Cloak and Dagger is almost the same damage as Dagger Throw, and it'll give us an extra slow stack. Always play your weaker attacks first, because you get a % increase. But I think this thing is not long for the world. Oh, yeah. And who's ever been scared of this statue? Not me. Not me. Cut off its head. And a bag of preparation. We're going to be up against the shaman. The weak potion. I don't know, killing one of the little ads is kind of nice, but we still have no block in our deck. Us having no block is worrying, but Blade Dance is good to add here. Block is worrying. Upgrade the acrobatics. Our plan is to just acrobatics bullet time and hope they line up. Where's my flick flack? I don't see it anywhere. I'm gonna use this potion to try to get an AoE. Or a multi-hit. Oh, it's AoE. AoE! What if we just take Grand Finale and hope it just happens somehow? Echoing Slash will get good once we kill those little minions too. And I could grab it again if I wanted to not block. And I think I do. I will weaken you and I will take both of those cards back. Thank you very much to Niao's Fury. I will give you another weaken stack, or I could weaken you to save 2 HP. Oh, I actually know if you're attacking next turn. Save my 2 HP. We'll save the Blade Dance. In general, we'll save the Blade Dance for after accuracy has been played. Alright, it was attacking. Flick Flack is here. We have 21 damage. 21 damage is a good amount of damage to have. One short. Thank you, Horncleat. I did not forget about you. I did forget about you, I'm sorry. Alright, let's get this machine in play. Now, do we splash or do we block 5? Ha! AoE Vuln is good. I think we're just going to take our damage. Oh, I was weakened. I forgot. Alright, this is the last damage we're taking. Mark my words. Check this out. Check this out. Wait, what? I've killed 2 enemies. Does this not work on minions? Or is it only when you kill it with Echoing Slash? Alright, this is not as good as I thought it was. Actually, I didn't even think it was good. I always thought this was not good, actually. It's just even worse than I thought. Why is this a gold card? Can somebody tell me why this is a gold card? It's only good if you can get an execute. Oh, I don't have enough stars. Do I want a dagger throw? Yeah, well, maybe we'll get Flick Flack. We did not. Although we could acrobats our Flick Flack. I don't want to take more damage from this clown throwing balls at me. 15 damage is kind of a lot. I'm weakened too. Block? Huh. Did I play acrobatics this turn? I don't remember. Oh, I thought it said add an ethereal card to your hand. I didn't know. I didn't read it right. Well, I guess we're taking more damage. Oh, should we? Let's get the Echoing Strike. Ready? Echoing Strike is going to go twice. Wow. Or is it possible that Splash gives us something that, like the Hunt or something? I don't know. Nightmare, really good with well-laid plans. We don't have well-laid plans. Good with Splash. Good with Bullet Time. Abrasive, nice, because then I can actually kill the Entomancer. I'll take Abrasive. And we get the Worm. This card is automatically played at the start of combat. This is only a skill, don't be tricked. A free Acrobatics Plus is normally not bad, but I am already drawing 9 cards, so let's not be stupid. No, but only re-roll each card reward. That's fun. I've never seen that. This is actually quite good. This is quite good. Especially with Bullet Time. This could hit Blade Dance, Acrobatics, Cloak and Dagger, Bullet Time. This could hit Bullet Time. Okay. That's actually pretty fun. Just Bullet Time with 9 cards at the start of each turn. That's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. Also, I forget that enchant. You can't enchant something already enchanted. Didn't matter here, but oh, I guess that's funny. All right, we're gonna have some good turn ones, my friends. All right, where are the shops? What kind of a circle is that? Now it's a donut. All right, we'll donut all of them. Donut the merchant. What do my elites look like? Also, we're up against the Super Sucker. Oops. I think my Entomancer is still a bad matchup. I think this is a bad matchup. We have no AoE either, so I guess both elites are bad matchups. The triangle's fine. And maybe we go hunting for a shop. And then if the shop sucks, we'll go to the left. Otherwise, we'll go to the right. I'd like to have more gold for this shop, but we could get 4 elites. Too bad we can't really fight any of the elites. Watch this. Bullet time. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can spend 8 energy this turn. That's nice. Unfortunately, this acrobatics is wasted. Let's kill this guy. This guy buffs itself. This clown's stunning itself anyway. Ooh, Niao's Fury is here. Okay. 8 and 9 is a good number. Ooh, abrasive. Thank you very much. And then we'll drag some stuff back. Only good stuff. Okay, those defends actually hurt me because they made precise cut weaker. Alright, we can kill it because this is 8 times 3, 24. Yeah, it's dead. Pounce. I don't really have the energy cost to make Pounce good. I could get another Flick Flack. Wait, Flick Flack is AoE. Oh, Flick Flack's not in the spreadsheet. Yeah, add that to the spreadsheet. I thought I added Flick Flack. Oh, it's because there's it's because there it is. We need to add Splash. All right. We don't know what Splash is going to do. It'll deal some kind of damage. So we actually have a lot of damage. We still need block. Right? I don't think any of this helps me. I mean, leading strike is more damage, but we have plenty of damage. We need other things. Noxious fumes. Is there a world for you? Well, this is fun. Screaming Flagon. Flagon. How do you say that word? Flagon?
Flagon.
Flagon? I don't like that. America sometimes really lets me down. The US of A. Screaming Flagon. It sounds like I'm saying wagon. Well, I have bullet time on turn 1. I have bullet time turn 1. So I can, unless I have a curse, I can always end turn 1. That's fun. That's fun. I like that. We should probably grab a piercing whale too. That's block. All right, let's not forget the flagon. All right, I think we need to take this elite now. Oh my gosh, hey big boy. This person looks like bad news, but maybe it's not good to be judgy. I actually don't know how hard this guy is. Give me a key. You can use a conch as a flagon. All right. Conch is definitely where the US wins out. All right. Got anything good? Crash landing. Oh, wait. This is going to mess up my flagon. Ice lance, though. I like that. Devastate is devastating. Oh, my. Two blocks per turn. Can never play this again. Pow! Ready for this? Ready for the flagon? We're gonna hit him with a flagon wagon. Boom! Nice. Oh, accuracy and blade dance. This guy's dead. Which is good because it's about to deal 30 damage. No rock necessary. Lantern key to my deck. Wait, oh, I didn't realize this is the next act. We're gonna have to carry this. We're gonna have to carry this curse. This is actually a bad curse. Hey, hello. I was looking for you. I do want a strength potion. Oops. I don't know if I wanted that. This really messes up my flagon. Maybe it's fine. Ooh, hello. Get more draw from abrasive. That could be good. Get more damage on flick flack. Get more block on something. I have some bad news for you. I play one character at a time. First I played Ironclad because he was my favorite. And then I played Necrobinder because she was fun. And now I'm playing Silent. And I've also played some Regent. I'm learning Regent exclusive with my partner. You know, the single character out of the 5 that I've only played one game with? The Defect. I don't really like the Defect very much. So, I'm wishing you luck. Drawing from Abrasive makes Abrasive kind of like Reflex. You're right, Winja. I think my brother really likes the Defect though. I do need more block though, but I think draw 2 is way better than block 2. Come on, let's be real. Although having it play on well-laid plans is kind of satisfying, right? Like, ooh, having it play on Infinite Blades now. Because we're going to be bullet timing. So even if I upgrade Infinite Blades, that's not good. Having it on well-laid plans so that you can retain something, I think makes a lot of sense actually. But if you're discarding this, you might want some more draw. No, I think putting it on plans makes a lot of sense. All right, I talked a big talk. Hopefully no Entomancer. There she is. Okay. Also, no flagon. Unless I discard my curse, which I'll probably do. All right. I think the plan here is just... Do I have accuracy? No, I don't. Is the plan here actually... Is it... Alright. Is it to try to play... Do I even play Infinite Blades? Or do I just say, I have Thorns... I have Thorns and Splash Plus. If I had accuracy, I would feel good about playing Infinite Blades, but I do not have accuracy. And the question really becomes, well, actually, hold on, I'm playing it. You know why I'm playing it? For the flagon. I am also playing this. And I may be playing this. Oh yeah, flagon, here we come. Boom! Nice. Alright, I don't believe I'm playing this Blade Dance though. I think I'm just gonna let it hit me. I think it's buffing next turn. Oh my gosh, where is the accuracy? The accuracy is a very important part here. There it is. All right, I think Niao's Fury is actually gonna be nice to draw next time. Ice Lance. Oh, we could drill it next time. For 36 damage. Not very good. We just kill it with Blade Dance next turn, right? Great. Alright, well, Entomancer sucked. Niao's Fury giving us Ice Lance and Ascender's Bane. Thanks. I didn't take a single piece of damage. Is a weak potion better into this elite or a rock? A weak potion. Happy Flower. Expose, extremely good. Expertise sucks because of my flagon. I'll take an expose. We just upgrade well-laid plans. All right, we just take another elite. Hope it's as easy. Oh no, not this guy. All right, we got accuracy. We like that. We can get rid of the lantern key so we can flag it all over them. That's good. Isn't it interesting that whenever I raise my hand, my green screen messes up? I actually need to check on my dog. She left a while back. I need to make sure she came back. All right, she's not eating anything. Hattie would eat the cigarettes. So I think these guys are all screwed. I'm pretty sure these guys are doomed. Okay, they're doomed. I think Splash was a good buy. Sometimes it bricks, but a lot of times it doesn't. We could deal 20 damage twice and channel 2 glass, or deal 47 damage once. They're both pretty good. So ideally, I actually would not kill them all. Because we actually want to end Happy Flower on 1. We don't want Happy Flower on 2, because Happy Flower on 2 is going to waste the energy because of bullet time on turn 1 anyway. We always want Happy Flower on 1. Are you ready for this, my friends? Flagon. Dude, this is nuts. Tuning fork. Another relic that we're gonna have to prep and think about. I don't think I want any of this. Dude, this purchase was wonderful. The synergy. With all 3 of these, actually. And then my turn 2s are good too. So I have really good turns 1 and 2. I do need to make sure that I scale. So that's really what we should be thinking about. Thorns. Oh, I am quite thorny now. I see no real reason not to take 2 more elites. I think these elites are going to get destroyed. I don't really want another shop. So does it ever make sense to dodge the fire? Right, we go up here. Or here. I mean, getting... no. I don't want to lose Piercing Whale, but it's fine. Because I may or may not use these. Flagon. Meow's Fury is here. There is a lot to think about here, and I am not going to do that. So maybe you play Precise Cut first so you can Fury it back. You lose 2 damage by doing that. Oh! Alright, we do it for the Tuning Fork. And for the Flagon. Alright, Expose is finally landing. So good right here. Gets the block, gets the artifact, and vulnerable? Yes, please. Alright, we would like some, might use a weak potion. Uh-oh. Well, these are not the cards I was looking for. Ooh, acrobatics though. Acrobatics is not gonna give me that much, huh? Yeah, I'll probably potion. Look, flak. Weakening it's gonna make it deal it's 20% of 9. It'll be 18%. Or wait. 20% of 9 is 1.8, so yeah. 21 damage. I'll take 5. If I deal 8 more damage though, it's actually 12 more damage. It'll have 22. Nah, it's not gonna kill itself. Well, these are not helpful. I can deal 12. No, it is helpful because it kills itself with the first attack, so it doesn't actually kill me. And we get it right back. Meat on the bone. Let's not forget that. Footwork. I still don't really have any way to block, guys. Let's make that a footwork plus. We're doing pretty good outside of that though. Noxious fumes is some kind of scaling. I just go for the remove here. If it were fumes plus, I'd take it. My only poison. I need discard, but not enough for dagger throw. I need draw, but not enough for backflip. Backflip with the footwork is good though. Oh no. No. We cannot oh, for the flagon. The gambit. I don't see myself ever taking this card unless I have barricade. This is actually 20 damage. So this is also 20 damage. It's 20 AoE damage. Am I weak potioning? No, it feels overly reactive. I'm just taking 5. All right, and we can flagon again. which means we want them to have 20 HP. We'll also full block. And if we can full block, we actually don't want to kill. I actually do not want to kill. We want Happy Flower on 1, and we want Tuning Fork higher. Oh, crap. My thorns. I'm a fool. Anchor. Our turns 1 and 2 got even better. Okay, this is kind of nuts with, so prepared, very good. But this is kind of nuts with Infinite Blades, right? I've never taken this card. But Shivs gain retain. And then it's gonna make the +8 for Shiv. Oh, for crying out loud. And it's only the first one, I know that. But that like takes care of my scaling DPS issue. Well, it doesn't take care of it, it helps it. I'm not gonna think too hard on playing these cards. Beat into shape. Oh, Grave Blast. We do have energy, right? The Forge. All right, this thing is dead. Happy Flower's happy. Pop. Oh, hello. Tactician Plus. Tactician Plus is going to mess up my flagon, actually. But maybe we're past the time for that to matter. I'm sure it's our second run. Yeah. More wheat could be honestly very helpful at this point. I don't think I need the 2 extra thorns anymore. I actually don't know what I want to upgrade. Like, accuracy is good. Honestly, Infinite Blades might be the call now. Getting access to those shivs on turn 1. My turn 1 is already good, right? Infinite Blades upgrading makes your turn 1 a little bit worse, but makes your turn 2 and following better. Why do I not have Infinite Blades Plus in my spreadsheet? I thought for sure I just saw Infinite Blades here. Alright, this boss should be a joke. I actually almost died to this boss the other day. Alright, we're gonna save Tactician. We don't want to use any more skills. Make Tuning Fork happy. Flagon is sad. I almost got sucked. Now is Fury now or later? Oh, Acrobatics and Tactician. Those are very good cards to grab. Fiend Fire is very funny. That's very funny. But if I fiend fire, I lose all my frantic escapes. Surely that would never kill me though, right? Maybe we'll wait around. The Shiv's doing 30 damage. That's kind of nuts. This Shiv will not deal 30 damage though. The boss is about dealing 30 damage though. What is up with that? I mean, I don't think I need a weak potion, right? Like, all my dex is at the bottom, right? Alright, just 14 damage, that's fine. Doesn't this thing multi-attack soon? Also, 2 turns, guys. Honestly, it might be worth it. No, it's not worth it to use abrasive, right? Oh, I wasted my tuning fork. I forgot about the tuning fork. Where's all my discard? Gunk up. This is a lot of trash. Because my draw pile's good. I don't want to discard my draw pile. Let's gunk it up, man. Like, I'm not worried. I'm just not happy. All right, we didn't kill ourselves. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. All right, we want to kill it next turn for Happy Flower. But we don't want to kill ourselves next turn. All right, everything's set up. Fiend fire. Pwah! Oh, hello. If we upgraded everything, we could have 15 thorns. And that's very funny to me. I actually don't have very many cards that discard though, so I don't think we can really take this. But it's funny. It's funny. I can get more card draw. This is OP, man. This is busted. All right, where are our shops? We have no late shops again. That's a bummer. I'd like to spend my gold, you know? Also, whenever I get to Act 3, if I'm really busted, sometimes I'm just like, can we end the run? Like, let's just max question marks. Let's just get through this. All right, maybe we go up here. I don't know where we're going. It doesn't matter. It's impossible to lose. Huh. You can get lantern key back this way, huh? I need to go to this question mark so we can actually get rid of lantern key. These guys are all dead. We don't actually want to kill them this turn is the thing. Whatever. It doesn't matter that much. It's dead. I'll try to make tuning fork happy, but prepared with replay. I know what I'm upgrading. Super prepared. Oh, prepared on turn 1 is not good. Goodbye, buddy. Pop. Although that guy dealing 7 times 5 to himself would be funny. Alright, we don't actually want to win this turn, but honestly, I can't be bothered. We should really win next turn, but super blur. That's a good draw. I don't know what I want anymore, guys. Pop. My strength. Oops. Played that wrong. It's okay though. Deals 1 damage. That's all you need. Let's grab that exposed maybe. There it is. Um, 44 damage. That's good. Tuning fork is very sad. Double leg sweep is not bad. All right, let's see what I've been. See what I've been dragging with me all this time for. History core. So yeah, I love that. All right, this is. I never remember the stupid history course. Net, it's busted if you remember it. You gotta remember it. Alright, what are we playing last? Whatever Niao's Fury gives us, I guess. Bullet time. That's what we're playing last. Wait, actually I don't know if that was good because I'm not going to be able to draw. Maybe that was wrong. Yeah, my acrobatics, man. History course sucks. Do I have infinite blades? I do. Oh. Free acrobatics. I forgot again. But free acrobatics is what I want anyway, so. Give ourselves a free splash next time. Or a free ice lance or a free bludgeon. Bludged. Boom. Didn't actually win here. We should be smart. Wait, it's gonna deal 13 thorns damage to itself, or 11 thorns damage to itself. All right, we'll kill it next turn. Tuning fork's happy. Happy flower is not perfect, but it's fine. Again, we don't want happy flower in 3 because we have a free bullet time anyway. Accuracy. That's silly. That is silly. Vajra is good. Salvo with history course. Speedster, gamble. And just remove. Duplicator potion is fun. Clamp. Make sure to always use that block. All right, I should just upgrade things. Yeah, clamp is good. Oh no. Upgraded power though. Sure. 6 poison per turn, that's fun. 6 dexterity, that's fun. It shifts. Surely this doesn't kill me, guys. Surely this doesn't kill me. We could have 100 damage shifts. Okay, we're not upgrading prepared anymore. We have to upgrade another super accuracy. Surely that's what we need here. I would never throw a run. An ancient relic. It's busted. ancient relic is like one at start of the act. Okay. Pop. Nope, strike. Thanks, history course. Only 16 damage on that. That's garbage. I don't think I want any of this. Ooh, another accuracy. That's what we need. Oops, I messed up. Messed up, guys. Oh, no, I didn't. Wait, yeah, I did. We're not going to be able to pop. $20, $20, $20. I will pop this time. Get that free shiv. Stardust, wow. All right, good. Better. Shivs are getting better. All right, Shiv is dealing. Wait, it should deal more than 32, I think. It should deal like 40 something. I want more damage. I'm still seeing a lot that I've never seen before. Oh, the 44 damage Shiv ended ended it. Ooh, untouchable. I really still don't have that much discard though. Backfit plus, very good. You can't draw from gamble anyway, so. I hate these guys. But we're gonna pop them. Acrobatics for free. I definitely did not forget about that. Hey, thanks, Eat of the 2 Pie. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We're recording another one at the end of stream today, the second part of the homework, and then future episodes you're going to talk about other things like AI use. Talk about like homework and quizzes, or quizzes, like how do we make good assessments, project-based learning, the fraud triangle, and how that applies to like academic honesty and stuff like that. Should be a good time. Thank you. I think the right call here is to make our shivs deal more damage. Yeah, the fraud triangle is basically like talking about like financial fraud is how it is, but it has a lot of applications to academia as well. It essentially says that, you know, for someone to commit financial fraud, there has to be, I'm going to misquote it, but essentially, you know, there has to be like 3 things: some kind of rationalization that makes it okay, some kind of need, and an opportunity. I think it's the 3 things. And like if we're worried about student cheating, right, we can lower student cheating by essentially lowering those 3. And many people just focus on lowering opportunity. Like, oh, how can I stop students from being able to cheat? When in reality, you're going to fight a losing battle with that, I think. But if we make our classes, hold on, I'm never gonna stop talking. I'm never gonna. All right, we should at least block once, right? We're gonna lose all of our cards, guys. All right, I can save 2 cards here. Definitely remove the need to cheat. 28 damage shiv like that. I actually didn't need a block because I neutralized. We really need to not forget history course. But I think they're all dead. These shivs are painful. I did not actually want to end the fight there, but end the fight, it did. Blur plus. Replay. This is such a stupid run. Accuracy, 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 accuracy. I just played 5 accuracies. 40 damage shiv. Hey, Dixava. Thanks for the resub. 77 months of tier 3. 77777. Huge. Pop. Oh, wait. We forgot history course again, guys. Shall we be thorny? Free shiv. Oh my gosh, that guy is hurting himself. All right, we should play some skills. Count up that tuning fork. Kill it with Meow's Fury. Don't like it on Happy Flower there, but whatever. Tactician. Outbreak. If I had it, this would be really funny. I love this with Corrosive Wave. This with Corrosive Wave is so funny. We have no discard, by the way. All right. Let's not lose control. We'd never want to do that. All right. How much strength are we going to give this clown? No, none, because I have only powers here. I played 1 skill. I could actually give myself energy. What have I played most recently? Hey, the only skill I've played is Bullet Time. I'd play Bullet Time for free. I think I'd like to play Tactician for free next turn. I'm okay taking some damage. Also, there's no reason not to drink this. Shall we make this guy super weak? Or save the weak? Using weak for a future phase seems to make sense. Could play Acrobatics for free, maybe? Or Blade Dance for free. I like that. No, it's going to be a Shiv for free. I don't remember how it weakens me, but we have Blur anyway. And Piercing Wail for the multi-hit. We're not taking any more damage. That is the truth. Meow's Fury is here. Shining Strike. We can get all the stars we need. Wait, all for one? Neutralize. Prepared. Precise cut. Shiv. All for one. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at those cards we just got back. What do I want to... Oh, wait. I could just kill it. Yeah, let's just kill it. 51. 51, my friends. That's a lot of damage for a Shiv. Huh. Alright, it's intangible, so we're not going to be stupid. We're going to try to get another backflip, though. I'll tell you that much. Or, wait. Oops. Oh, another blur. That's what I meant. Alright, 127 block is pretty good. We're gonna Niao's Fury the blur. Mark my words. Alright. I wish all for one bullet time. That'd be funny. I know I can retain, but I really like the flagon, and we haven't made the flagon happy in a while, so flagon. Flagon was ridiculous in Act 2, actually nutso. We should just play around. We're playing around history course there with that leg sweep. Get a nice free leg sweep. That. Gain fire. Ooh, I could gain some strength. $12 times 6. That is not enough. Or is it? And we throw a rock. That was a very funny run. I forgot about Clamp. I remembered history course half the time. Glitter is nuts. Electric Shrimp with Bullet Time and Bag of Prep and Ring of the Snake was absolutely bonkers. My turns 1 and 2 were just ridiculous. The book is at the start of your next turn. So yeah, I would have used Fiend Fire at the start of my next turn. I don't know if that's before I draw or after I draw, though. I think it's before you draw. But I don't know. Die. I think my silent win rate is like 80% or something. That was certainly my strongest silent run, though. I feel like my ancient bonuses are really good. Outside of Niao's Fury, my Act 1 ancient bonuses were pretty bad. But I don't want to look at win rate because I don't actually want to think about win rate. I don't want to play around win rate. I just want to... Because as soon as you play around win rate, then it matters whether you win or lose. And I don't want it to matter whether I win or lose. I want to have fun. I want to experiment. Want to have a good time. 10% win rate? Maybe I do. It's like Schrodinger's cat or whatever, right? Until I check. I don't think that's actually how that works, but this is so cool how they did this. Dude, this made me so happy. Is this only for the silent or is this for anyone? Certainly better with the silent, right? Although not if you have well-laid plans. Good with bullet time. This is the best bullet time I've ever had. I was just saying, I said when I picked it up, which again, how did I get it? Yeah, it was a transformation. I didn't even choose it. But I said when I picked it up that bullet time is a lot better in Slay the Spire 2 than it was in Slay the Spire 1 due to the nature of energy. Energy is different. In Slay the Spire 1, you had a lot of energy relics, and now you're on 3 energy most of the time. So it's a lot stronger in this game. And then yeah, the upgrade again is a good upgrade, because then, especially like if you get acrobatics plus or well-laid plans, then your bullet time is much happier. Yeah, this is very silly. Just getting your first turn, you can play 9 cards for free. Nuts. And then yeah, just getting a replay on all those cards is good too. The replay on all the accuracies is really quite funny. Right, because replay only works the first time you play the card. So, but a replay on a power, it's just so much more busted, right? Because you're only gonna play the power once anyway. It was nuts. There was another bonus I had never taken before. I don't know the names of anything though. Oh yeah, the upgraded snake I think is really good. In Slay the Spire 1, this upgraded to a worse turn 1. Which makes no sense to me. But in Slay the Spire 2, it essentially procs on your first 3 turns, which is quite good, especially with bullet time. But I don't really... I think that could have been a better choice. Sturdy Clamp is really good. I like Clamp a lot more than Calipers. It's not as busted some of the time, but it's better most of the time. History course, man, we really had to sit with the key for a long time. Yeah, this is busted for sure, especially if you think. I had very strong relics. All right. Next up, we have a very special treat. I don't know if it's a treat for you or not. We have a podcast, a live podcast episode recording. If that's not exciting, I don't know what is. Let's get the camera to be large. Change our profile. Maybe not change our profile. The camera already looks large. Oh, yeah. HD. We have to fix the webcam, though. We're going to have to fix the coloring. I have to change outfits. I'm not recording this in my bathrobe. I'm sorry. Actually, maybe before we do this. Yeah, let's switch audio sources. Okay, audio source has been switched. Should be a little bassier. You have to have a bassy voice on a podcast. I think there will be an episode eventually in my bathrobe, but not yet. All right, we can get rid of those wrinkles. That'll help. Check on the doggy. Check out the show notes. All right. Use podcast voice. All right. Be right back. Oh, yeah, we should update some things, huh? Update this. Change category. I'm going to forget to update the category next time I stream. I'll tell you that much. Next podcast episode, Math and Higher Education. All right, that should be good. Wait, we got to change it to on YouTube too, for all my loyal YouTube viewers. I know they're out there. All right, be right back. You guys can check out some of the things I'm talking about. Oh wait, I didn't change. All right, now we have an appropriate podcast outfit. All right, let's get the camera coloring right. Give myself a little bit more color. So you can give yourself a little more color, a lot more color, or just blue. I think I'd like to give myself a little bit more color. But if the sun goes away, then it's going to look real awkward. I don't know, maybe that's too much. Very vibrant. Make the sweatshirt really pop. All right, let's think about what we're talking about today. So we'll start with the opening. And then let's jump right in. That sounds so scripted. With a discussion on different types of problems we can ask students on homework problems. And then we talked about in the previous episode, we mentioned homework should facilitate learning, not just require or reinforce memorization or algorithms. Tell people to consider some level of optional skills practice so students can decide how much they want to do. Mention the research article from the longitudinal study in China. Tied into Bloom's taxonomy, diminishing returns, lower cognitive levels, or at all levels, did not lead to higher achievement at a higher cognitive level, right? Definitely some subtleties here. And then, so it looks like, really looks like most of this chunk is going to be led through examples. So, like, okay, like, let's talk about all the different types of problems you can ask, and we're going to use the example from a calculus class of finding the derivative. So the first type, it would be graphical. You can have creation questions, blah blah blah. All right, that should be good. And then again, there's many more of these. Next, talk about how to incorporate review and scaffolding. Talk about how prerequisites are often mischaracterized by professors. Give organic review. I can mention my A-math class. Don't just tie material to the path, tie it to the future. And again, give another example for like a rate of change problem in a college algebra or pre-calc class. You don't have to do this for everything. You don't have to make your problems really long. In the homework, well, in all of our classes, but in the homework, be explicit what they're doing and why. Tell a story, mention this other research. I have another example. Self-validation. This episode's so long. Oh my gosh. It's too long. It's gonna be like an hour long. The first one is like 30 minutes. Maybe we just cut it halfway. Be like, that'll be the next episode. Incorporating self-validation into ours. I might really take a break in the middle of this episode. Also, I'm gonna cut. If I ever like mess up, I'm just gonna cut and splice it together for the video. Huh. Different kinds of self-validation. Again, give examples. Lots of different ways to incorporate that. Lots of ideas here. Like a director, yes. Every time I cut, I need you to yell cut. No, you don't have to pay attention. You can ignore me. I was planning on doing that for the first episode, but it just did it all in one take, basically. And then logistic. I don't know how much I want to talk about this. It's at the end of a long episode, and I really don't care about it that much. I'll get on my soapbox talking about how writing math is important. And so the discussion for online versus paper maybe is not even actually a really discussion. Should I actually cite this? Maybe. All right, yeah, we'll cite this study. Just use Wikipedia. Holy moly, this research article has like 20 contributors. Marano et al. All right, we'll add it to. Oh, I don't like desktop sharing. Look, I'm using Claude to help me do my podcast. I don't like desktop sharing. It's too risky. Like, what do I actually have that I want to hide? I don't think there's anything, but there's always a non-zero chance. Gosh, I can talk for so long about all this stuff. This is going to be a disaster. I'll tell you, it's pornography. And I won't be embarrassed by having a folder named pornography. I'd be in the sense that people would know I look at porn. I'd be embarrassed in the sense that people would know that it's like, who downloads porn? Come on. This is too long. The outline is like 4 pages. It is a disaster. Actually, hold on. What is the desktop? VLC Media Player. I installed that for watching Harry Potter in Spanish. Microsoft Edge. I don't know why that's there. Autodesk Inventor for creating 3D models for 3D printing. Hogwarts Legacy. I did not enjoy that game. I think it's uninstalled. And this is for Across the Obelisk. October. I'm trying to learn more about it. So I did some basic 3D modeling to like practice creating a dog puzzle bowl, because if I was good at it, I was going to print one for our dog. But it was a good learning experience, but I don't actually want to print it. All right, October, are you going to be a terror when I record this? Are you going to be a little guest star? We got to make sure these are the right lengths. It was a very professional podcast. Got to make the sponsors happy. There are no sponsors because nobody listens to it yet. I'm nervous. All right, I'm not going to really be reading chat, as you might expect, but I'll read it during breaks. Hey, Valcor. You're somebody too, Valcor. The best of the best are here. All right. So I'm just going to go. A little bit more water. Welcome to Math in Higher Ed. I'm Jason Barnett, a math professor at South Puget Sound Community College, and the topic for today is how we design math homework that actually works. So we're going to jump right into a discussion on different types of problems that we can ask students on homework assignments, because homework should not just be about making students memorize things. It should not just be about like the reproduction of algorithms. Homework should be a way, and we talked about this in our last episode, homework should really be a way for students to learn. Math is not learned by listening. Math is not learned by watching. Math is learned by doing. And so we should be writing homework problems that let students explore, that let students create, that let students like think, productive struggle, like all that is really important for homework. And so what we're going to start this episode with is how do we actually write those kinds of problems? So the first thing I want to say is skills practice is important, right? If you're in a calculus class, students need to be able to take derivatives. If you're in if you're in an algebra class, students need to be able to simplify rational expressions. Students need to be able to solve a lot of equations. Now, how much students need to be able to do all these things by hand is a discussion that we're all having right now, right? How much should we be teaching computer use? How much should we be teaching students to do things by hand? That's a discussion, but there's some level of necessity here. There's some level of skills practice that we need to include in our homework assignments. But that should not make up the bulk of these homework assignments. We should be giving students the opportunity to practice those skills, but that is not what homework assignments should be, is what I would like to share with all of you today. So specifically, I would really kind of maybe preach a little bit to include some optional skills practice. Yes, if you want to have mandatory homework, having some mandatory skills practice, sure, but I would like to include extra optional skills practice so that students don't have to do 50 problems that are all tedious if they don't want to. But if they want extra skills practice, I think giving them access to that is really useful. And of course, there's plenty of ways that students can find extra practice online. There's plenty of ways that students can find extra practice with AI. But I think we all kind of underestimate ourselves and overestimate the world and the internet for how the quality of the things that people are going to find. Like, I can very quickly Google something and find really good practice, but it's not going to be just the first thing. And also, what am I typing into the Google search? So I think giving students extra things to practice is very useful. I think having things, optional skills practice is very useful as well. And then tied into this is there's a longitudinal study done in China that that essentially said that more homework, and I believe they were mostly talking about skills practice, more homework led to higher achievement at a low cognitive level. It did not lead to higher achievement at a high cognitive level. So when they're talking about cognitive level, they're kind of referring to Bloom's taxonomy, right? Can they evaluate things? And evaluate is high up on Bloom's taxonomy, but in math terms, right? Like evaluating an expression or something is very basic. Right? It could plug things in, solve equations, right? All those like low cognitive level tasks. The homework is really helping with that, and more homework is going to make them better at that to some extent. There are diminishing returns on that, but it doesn't actually lead to higher achievement at a high cognitive level. So I would contend that it's not actually leading to learning. This study essentially, in my interpretation, is that more homework will let them be able to reproduce the skills, but it's not necessarily going to lead to higher learning or better understanding. And this was a study by Yuan Zhang et al., and that's Zhang with a ZH at the start. So what kind of problems should we be asking students if we're not just having them do skills practice and drills for our entire homework assignments? And what I've done is I've prepared a group of examples. So let's pretend that we're in a calculus class, and I'm going to talk about all the different ways of we can ask the same type of question. And then, of course, all of this can be extended to many, many other classes as well. So suppose we're having students practice derivatives. Okay, now we can give students 20 functions and say, find the derivative of all these functions, right? That would be an example of skills practice. That would be an example of drilling. That would be an example of tedium for a lot of students, but it's going to be very useful practice for some students. That's where I would say maybe have a couple required and a few optional. Okay, so let's say students are finding the derivative. There's many more interesting ways that we can ask these questions to have students actually learn and incorporate and tie together various concepts. We can do a lot of things with graphs. Graphing is extremely important. I don't think graphing by hand is that important, but understanding graphs, knowing how to read graphs, knowing how to work with graphs, very important. So we could give a graph to a students and say, estimate the derivative at a point. And that lets us tie things into increasing and decreasing for functions. It lets us get some practice finding slopes of lines. And you might say, Jason, this is a calculus class. Why are you worried about students finding the slopes of line? And the answer to that is I've taught calculus classes many times. And I would love it if all of my students could easily find the slope of a line. Like it really is beneficial to tie into the concept of a derivative as well. I don't care if a student can find a derivative. I want them to know what a derivative really is. So if we ask a student to do this sort of thing, then they can say like, oh, it's a slope. How do I find the slope? Oh, I'll draw a little line. Oh, how do I find the line? Oh, okay. And it really incorporates so much more than just the power rule or whatever we're having students use to calculate derivatives. Those graphical examples can be really, really helpful. We could also kind of flip the script a little bit, and whenever we can involve creation. Have students create something. That is a really, really great way to have them show understanding and kind of figure out if they're missing something. These creation problems are really good for having conversations with students during office hours or during class or something like that. They're really good for students talking to each other because they're going to have different answers and they can both be right, and having them talk about whether they're both right or something is very, very valuable as well. That kind of discussion of math leads to a lot of learning as well, and long-term retention, which again is also what we're going for in these homework assignments. And so here's in our creation example, in this context of a calculus class, we could say, draw a graph that has f prime of 2 equaling 5. And then they have to say, well, okay, what does f prime of 2 equal 5 mean in terms of a graph? And then it's like, oh, that's the slope. It has to be increasing. And that's kind of steep, maybe. And then they have to draw a picture. And that also, what I find when I ask students these questions, you also have to tell them that it needs to be a function. Because a lot of times when you ask students to draw a graph, they won't draw functions. They'll draw things that fail the vertical line test. Or some other students will try to get too creative and actually hurt themselves, which is always a little interesting and can lead to some good discussions there. But yeah, having students draw graphs and telling them what to include and what to think about can be really, really helpful. But that creation aspect is really, really useful for having students learn and having more interesting homework problems. Another thing that you can do is have them do some analysis. This is extremely important, especially in, it's the 2026 right now, is have students analyze other people's work. Have students analyze AI's work, right? Having that AI literacy is extremely important. Having that critical thinking is extremely important. You can give steps for solving a problem. Say like, hey, a student did this solution to a problem, or AI gave me this solution to this problem. Can you look at it and say if it's right? Could it be better? Like, what is wrong? Are there any errors? That sort of thing really makes them critically think. Because when I write something on the board too, I want them to be thinking about whether I'm right and why am I right, if I am right. Explaining why something is right or having them look for errors really makes them actually think, instead of just like, oh, this is wrong, I need to find an answer. Or, oh, this is right. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Having students analyze these things, and again, leading to some AI literacy, critical thinking, very, very important for internet literacy and just information literacy in general. So in our example in this calculus class, you could ask a classmate, did the following calculations to find f prime of -3? Are they right? Why or why not? Right? You can ask more interesting questions than that, but that's a basic example. And another kind of problem that you can ask students on these homework assignments to lead to less drilling and more critical thinking and more learning is actually proof questions. And a lot of times we kind of treat proofs as these holy creatures, that your proofs have to be unassailable, perfectly mathematically correct and logical. And we save them for later classes a lot of times in our math sequence. But I think we should be having students do proofs earlier on, and I think we should allow for lower levels of rigor as well. And I think that can be okay. And then later on, we can say, okay, now we need to increase the rigor a little bit, and we can do all of our math things that we love to do in proofs. But having students prove something is a great way for them to think about why something is true or not true, and explaining their reasoning. And again, I don't think we should make them be perfect on this, but I think we should make them think about it. So for example, maybe something like, is it true that if you draw a polynomial, you can find where the function changes directions by setting the derivative equal to 0? Why might that be true? And if it's not true, give a counterexample. We don't even have to say the word proof, because the word proof can be very scary, but just asking someone to explain why something might be true or not true. And again, not telling them whether it's true or not true, I think is a crucial part of this for them to really think of, like, is this true? I can't really think of why it's not true, but how could I explain that it is true? And then maybe along the way, if something is not true, they'll find out why it's not true when they're trying to explain why it is true. It's a little twisted. twisted's the wrong word, but anyway, so we can have students prove things without calling them proofs. They don't have to be super rigorous. And I think especially in lower level courses, this can really build a lot of good habits that we want students to have in higher level math courses as well. So the last kind of example I'm really going to give for different types of problems that we can ask in a homework assignment is, again, another type of creation problem. And we can ask a lot of fun creation problems that tie into the future. For example, for derivatives, we could say, create an equation for a function that has f prime of x equal 3x plus 5. And of course, this has natural ties into Calc 2 with with antiderivatives. But we don't have to say anything about antiderivatives. We can just ask these questions that get students to think about undoing things. In pre-calculus or college algebra, we can ask the same types of questions of, like, before we even talk about inverse functions, we can give a function and say, well, what steps do you need to do to solve this function? Because when we're solving a function for an output, we're really finding inverse functions in a sense. So there's lots of ways that we can ask these creation questions to tie into future materials. And then we can either be explicit about this and say, like, aha, you just did Calc 2. And then it's like, that's exciting, right? We should be excited about, like, accidentally doing a future math class. It's like, oh, I really thought Calc 2 is going to be really hard, but I'm already doing it. Or like when we do rational expressions or difference quotients in college algebra or pre-calculus, having them, there's a lot of cool things we can do, and I'll talk about this soon, of like essentially finding a derivative. We can tell them that and get them really excited. Or something that you can do is be like, we just did something really cool. I'm not going to tell you what. And then in a couple of weeks, we can remind them and be like, remember this? And then that's really exciting as well. Whenever we can get excited, of course, is always so great for us and so great for our students. It makes it more exciting for both of them. So yeah, anytime we can have creation in our homework assignments that ties into future material is really great. So those are just a few examples of different types of problems we can ask. Graphical problems, creation problems, analysis problems, proof problems, and like tying things into the future are some great examples. But again, think of all the other examples that you can do and just get creative. There's a lot of fun types of questions that we can ask that tie into all these topics. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about in this episode is how do we incorporate review and scaffolding into our homework assignments? And I'm not telling you to have a 30-minute review portion on every single homework assignment, because I want to talk about how we can organically include this information. And I think that organic part is really important, and I'll talk about that soon. But I want to start by saying that prerequisites are a trap. Okay? I think a lot of us in the math education community treat prerequisites as something that they are not. We think, this is a prerequisite, my students should know how to do this. This was taught in a previous class, my students should know how to do this. And that's ridiculous. That's not fair to the students. That's not fair to the previous professors. Like Johnny over there is supposed to teach pre-calculus. How come students don't know how to do this? Okay? So prerequisites are a trap, and we need to acknowledge that just because a student should have learned something doesn't mean they actually learned it. It doesn't mean they remembered it. It doesn't mean they mastered it. It doesn't mean it was taught well. It doesn't mean it was taught the same way. And just because something's in a prerequisite class, maybe it's actually not that important for the person who taught it, and you have a mismatch. So there's a lot of reasons why something can be a prerequisite topic and a student might not know it. And we need to understand that and support that. So these are all these things that we want students to have learned, prerequisites. That doesn't mean they're going to remember them or master them, and that's okay. And as a result, if we accept that premise that students are not going to all have mastered prerequisites, if we accept that premise, we need to be giving students access to organic review and give that to the entire class. I actually kind of stumbled upon this when I first taught my first co-requisite class of a college level pre-calculus class with some co-requisite support for like building algebra skills. And what I noticed was that my students who, again, for this co-requisite class, these students are coming in at a lower mathematical level with quotation marks than traditional pre-calculus students. And what I noticed is I provided those, and my students all of a sudden had better algebra skills than the students who were coming at a higher level from my traditional pre-calculus class. And it was like, oh, wait, I should probably be incorporating this in some way for all of my students. Calculus students need review on simplifying rational expressions. And that's okay. And I'll talk how to give organic review soon, but when we give organic review to the entire class, it removes the stigma of needing review, right? We say this is something that all students can benefit from. And so a lot of times students aren't even going to necessarily be knowing it's review. It's like, oh yeah, this is something we need to brush up on, or oh yeah, let's practice this, remember this. But it doesn't make them feel like they're behind, which is really good for giving students the right mindset. Another reason why giving access to organic review to the entire class is beneficial is that it gives an opportunity for us to show the why behind something. So thinking about simplifying rational expressions, since I brought up that example earlier, many students will know how to simplify these already. But if we do a brief review in a homework assignment on how to do something, we can also talk about the why, so that even students who already know how to do it can benefit from a greater understanding. Cut. Hattie needs to go outside, and she is losing her mind. Oh my gosh. All right, I need to be right back. It would be Hattie that interrupts it. This dog, man. She didn't go. She didn't go. But I put her in her crate. Hey, October. All right, audio levels hopefully still going good. Even students who know how to do it can benefit from a greater understanding. And then the third thing is that students don't know what they don't know in math. And that's totally fine. We a lot of times are the same, kind of just human nature. But a lot of times students might think that they have pretty good understanding of rational expressions, as an example. It's like, yeah, I know when to cancel. And then meanwhile, they just cancel random x's without factoring and all that stuff. So sometimes students don't necessarily know that they do need review. And so when we can provide that review, it's going to help them. As many of them aren't going to necessarily even know that they need it, so they're not going to go seeking it out. So we can also tie things to the future. And I talked about this a little bit briefly in the last example, but tying our problems to future classes, and not just future math classes, but future classes of any type. So we could tease physics applications, chemistry applications, business applications, finance applications, social science applications. So many applications to a variety of things in a math class. And before you say, Jason, I don't know anything about business or chemistry, you don't need to, really, because your students aren't going to know anything about them either. Well, of course, some of them will, but in general, we can't expect them to because it's not a prerequisite. Don't get me started about prerequisites again. Once is enough for this episode. But we can send a quick email or a quick conversation in the hall to people in these fields and be like, hey, real quick, do you have a class that has, math 141 or whatever math class you're thinking about? Do you have a class that has math 141 as a prerequisite? Are there any skills that you want students to be able to do with math, or how can math be used for this class, or it's anything like that, really? And that it forms a symbiotic relationship because one, it lets us find out what math skills students are missing when they go to other classes. And two, it lets us add a lot more weight or importance to some of the topics that we're talking about by giving real applications in other fields is really beneficial. And then it's just fun to learn too, right? I think we should always be seeking out the joy in teaching and the joy in learning. And, when I talk with my colleagues and figure out the math that they're using, even if it's quote, basic math, unquote, then I think it's pretty valuable in that. So, this ties into the why, and the why, which we talk about more in this future section of this episode, is very important. Students want to know why they're doing something. I want to know why I'm doing something too. And if we don't know, they're not going to know that either. So let's give an example, right? I've talked about tying, using organic review in a homework assignment. I've talked about tying homework problems to future things. Let's look at some examples. So let's say we're in a college algebra or pre-calculus class, and we're talking about rates of change. Again, a very easy, this is a low-hanging fruit for examples, but this is a very important skill, and it ties into previous material as well as upcoming material. So we can start, and this really ties into the scaffolding, we can start by having students simplify a rational expression. Maybe it's going to require them to factor. Maybe it's going to require them to simplify a complex fraction. Maybe it's going to have them add expressions with different denominators, right? There's all these different kinds of things that we expect students to know that are part of the prerequisites that are actually pretty hard skills to do. And again, you can do that in more of a skills practice way of like, oh, just simplify this. Or you can do it in a more creative way about like, what's actually happening when we're canceling? When we try to get the same denominator, what are we actually multiplying by? Why is it okay to multiply by 1? But we can't multiply both sides of something unless there's an equation. You can tie into the difference between expression and equation, which is very confusing for a lot of people, right? When can I do something to both sides? When do I have to do it to the top and the bottom? Or a complex fraction, how come I don't have to do the top and the bottom on both the top and the bottoms to both? That makes no sense without writing it down, but maybe you have some idea about what I mean, right? And so there's lots of different kinds of like review questions that we can ask them. And here's the thing. These don't have to be extra problems. You can ask them to simplify a rational expression that is immediately used in the next rate of change problem on your homework assignment. That's part of the scaffolding. And we can get them to recognize that, and we can isolate these skills. Because a lot of times students would be like, I don't know how to solve these rate of change problems. When really what they're saying is, I don't know how to simplify rational expressions. And getting students to recognize which part they actually don't understand is really valuable. And that's why I always tell students to come to student hours, because a lot of times what you think you may be struggling with is not actually what you're actually struggling with. So you don't actually need more review on simplifying or finding rates of change. You need more practice or understanding on rational expressions. So calling that out and separating that can be very, very helpful. And then what also is helpful to incorporate in these homework assignments is links, right? We're not going to have time to incorporate full lectures on all of these prerequisite topics, but it can take me 15 seconds sometimes, 30 seconds. I don't know how long you want to take on this, but not very long, to just provide a quick link to your students and be like, hey, if you don't really remember rational expressions very much, that's okay. It's going to be a really helpful skill if you do know it. So take a moment, here's some videos someone did about this. Here's some practice problems that you can do about this. Give students a link so that they can identify that there's a skill they need to brush up on and opportunities to do that. Because again, we're not going to be able to do entire lectures on these prereqs. We're not going to be able to do entire homework problems on these prereqs, but we can at least let students know they're missing something. Okay, so in this problem, maybe that's how we start. Simplify this rational expression. And then we can have them solve a rate of change problem that results in that exact rational expression. So it's not actually creating more work for them, it's just discretizing the skills. And we're not going to do this for every problem. That's part of the scaffolding, right? We set the scaffolding on the first couple problems, and then we remove that scaffolding in future problems. So it's not going to make the homework assignment much longer at all. We can do this with just a couple problems. And then if you'd like, as part of this like review scaffolding, but tie into future things, if you'd like, you can also have a follow-up problem. Like maybe part 1 was simplifying the rational expression, part 2 is finding the rate of change, and then you can go all sorts of places with these rates of change. When we talk about rates of change, a lot of us talk about secant lines, right? Rates of change are really the slope of secant lines. We can talk about what happens as those 2 points get close together. And we can say, hey, this is calculus. We can talk about average speeds, average velocities, and how that ties into speedometers. Again, tangent lines in calculus. We can just give a quick comment if we don't want to go too into depth, and give a quick comment that derivatives are rates of change. So we're really kind of just doing derivatives right here. We could also phrase it differently and say like, hey, what happens when the A and the B of this interval get really close together? And so like there's all of these short follow-up questions that we can give students to really make them think. And again, not all students are going to have the time or the energy or the desire to think on these problems. You can't really force students to think all the time, but we can set them up and give them the tools or the pieces to get them considering future things. That is one way for one class, an example of how we can tie in to previous material, build that scaffolding on just a couple problems and then have students be aware of it and we want to provide those links for them to get that practice if they need to. We talked about why it was important to provide that, and then some of the ways that we can extend that to future things. So that is a very, very important part of writing our homework assignments, that incorporation of organic review, scaffolding, and building to future topics. The next section I want to talk about here is how can we be explicit with students about what they're doing and why? And now we talked about this earlier and in the previous episode as well, about why it's important that students know why they're doing what they're doing. That was a big focus of the first episode of this podcast, but I want to talk about the explicit portion of that. Just because we know why the students are doing it and we're giving them all the tools to know why they're doing it, I think being very clear, very explicit, naming this, being very outspoken about what they're doing and why they're doing it's going to be very, very helpful for students. And one of the ways that we can do this is by recognizing that math classes are really like a story. Math curriculum is really like a story. It's telling a story. It's got an introduction. It's got some exposition. It has a climax. It has a conclusion, and then there's some teasing for like the sequel, right? And stories are interesting. Stories are something that humans have been obsessed with for our entire existence, really. And I'm not an anthropologist or anything, but we love stories. Most humans love stories. Math is a story. Let's make it a story. Instead of just walking to class and being like, all right, class, today we're going to talk about rational expressions. No, like talk about like, hey, remember where we came from. Here's where we are. Here's where we're going. And let's like foreshadow a little something right here. And the climax is coming up. We're really building towards something big. Like really tie things together. If you're just this, then this, then this, then this, that is boring. That makes no sense. I can't contextualize anything. There's no framework. And if we don't have context for new information, if we don't see how to place that new information that we're learning in a math class, then we're not going to remember it. Very important part of long-term memory is being able to place it, contextualize it, understand it, see how it fits into the big picture. And now, how much of this is really about homework and how much of this is about class time and lecture time, it's kind of up to you. But I think there are ways of incorporating this into our homework assignments. So a lot of times we can do this by being explicit. This is how it all ties together. Explicit in those review, scaffolding, and upcoming things that we just talked about. Like, hey, like we did this last class. This is why. Right? It was to set us up for this moment. Or like be explicit about like, oh yeah, this leads to derivatives, or oh, this leads to tracking motion in physics, or this is useful in titrations. I don't know. I just dark out words. I don't know, but tying those things in is very, very beneficial. And then there's some research done by Diane Swartzlander on self-assessment and homework test correlation. Now, this is research for 8th graders, but I think it really ties well into what we're talking about in higher education as well. And this research said that having students do some self-assessment and explicitly link their homework to learning of the concepts led to a greater understanding of importance for that homework. So when we're very explicit about this and make students aware of how homework affects their quizzes, how homework affects their understanding, have them really kind of do some metacognition stuff for how they're processing the material and how it relates to other material, is very helpful in getting students to this. So this is really kind of tied into the how we can be explicit. really help students see the why of how this homework is actually being useful for them. Anytime we can get students to see the value of homework, it's going to do so much for motivation. It's going to help them understand. It's going to help them want to do the homework. And again, this is a big point of the last episode too. We have to know why homework is important if we're going to make the students understand that homework is important. So we have to actually take time to make useful homework. If we don't have useful homework, it is going to be a waste of time. Students will know it's a waste of time, and students are not going to really care. And when they're not going to care, they're not going to try very hard, and they're not going to understand, and they're not really going to practice, and it's just going to be a waste of time for everyone. So let's not waste our time. Let's not waste our students' time. Let's create useful homework assignments and then communicate the ways that they're useful to students. And something that I think is kind of it's a very big stereotype in math education is, the student being like, why do we have to, when are we ever going to use this? And then a lot of times our answer is like, well, Farmer Joe over there has a rectangular pen with 20 feet of fencing, and he needs to know what dimensions he needs to make his fence to give his pigs the maximum area. And that's a lot of times, right? Like our response, word problems, applications. But most applications in most lower level math classes are bad. And I think that's okay that they're bad, honestly. I think it's okay to do a problem with Farmer Joe. I think there's value to that. But I think what we need to do when we talk about these types of problems is I think we need to acknowledge that they're silly. It's like, yeah, many of you already know the answer. But if we actually asked questions and tell our students this, right? Like if we actually asked real world questions that use this material, that's going to take 5 hours. That's going to take 20 hours. That's going to be a project. And projects are extraordinarily useful for showing the students the why of what they're doing, showing students the use of what they're doing. We'll have a future episode on project-based learning. It's very important. It's not really something that can fit into a homework assignment, so we're not going to talk about it too much right now, but projects are extremely useful for showing students why, extremely useful for teaching students other skills about how to approach problems. So beneficial in so many different ways. Projects can be very, very strong. But something else that we can kind of talk about when we have these silly Farmer Joe type problems is talk about how we can even kind of make those problems more interesting. And we don't have to actually do it in class, but we can kind of comment this like, yeah, we're practicing this simple problems so we can solve harder problems. And I don't want to give you problems that take 2 hours, unless I'm teaching a more complicated math class, and then yeah, maybe it's going to take 2 hours. But for like lower level math classes, I don't want to give you a problem that takes 2 hours. So we're going to practice on this simple problem. But we can also tell students that there are ways that this can be generalized too. What if Farmer Joe is now building a rectangular prism-sized building and only has like so much siding or so much length? Or, how can we extend this to 3 dimensions? Or how can we extend this to n dimensions? We can really show students that like, oh, this ties into pure math as well, and abstract math and abstract thinking. And again, most of our students are not really going to care about this, but showing them that, yeah, this does lead to higher level math. Can we extend this Farmer Joe problem to higher level math? Because that's how a lot of math is created, is we have this basic result and we say, can I generalize this? What does this look like in higher dimensions? What does this look like if I lose one of my restrictions? And that's how math research is a lot of times. We can tie that into math research, tie that into curiosity. I had a student once when we were doing these silly Farmer Joe problems. I don't call them that in class, but they are now officially Farmer Joe problems in my mind. He's like, he asked himself the questions, and he's like, hey, look, Jason, I asked myself, like, what would happen if I did this? And this is what I got. Is this right? Right. And whenever we can encourage that curiosity, I didn't encourage that curiosity. That was all the student, and I was very happy, proud of him. But whenever we can encourage that curiosity, I think it's really helpful for our students. So I know it's hard to find the balance between having real useful problems and having manageable problems. We need to be sharing that with our students. Be explicit about that challenge and be like, yeah, there are a lot of cool uses for these. Here's one. Or here's like an example of one. And then just like, we don't have time to solve really hard because real problems are hard. Real problems are messy. So we're going to solve the simple ones a lot of times, but calling those out, having some examples to give them. And if you don't have any examples off the top of your head, it's totally fine to be like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'll mention it in class next time, and then make a note and read about it. I think we need to be learning the answers to these questions so we can give students actual interesting answers. And if we don't have an answer, then that's a problem too. And we can use that for our own things. Another thing that we should be incorporating into our homework assignments, and this is really the last thing I want to talk about to incorporate our homework assignments, is this idea of self-validation. When students are solving problems, they should be able to look at their answers and say whether they think the answer is right or not. They should be able to see, like, without an answer key, and I go back and forth on answer keys. I'll talk more about this in a second, but instant feedback can reduce critical thinking. And this is not just a math class problem. This is a humanity in the 21st century problem, is when we can get the answer to all of our questions with the press of a button or a Google search or asking AI, which will never be wrong. When we can get that information instantly, I think it reduces critical thinking for all of us. And I think we've all experienced this in our own lives. And I think it can be fun every once in a while to take that away and be like, oh, what do I think this is? And then have a discussion with somebody and try to, if we can do that in our own lives, we can kind of see the value in it sometimes and give it to our students as well. But I think self-validation is a really critical thing. Having students analyze their answers and see whether their answers are believable before just checking to see whether they're right or wrong. Because again, in real world problem solving, you can't just check whether your answer is right that easily. If you're doing some kind of project at work, or if you're building something, or if you're doing some calculations to design something, there's not necessarily a right answer. You kind of have to do some double checks. And then you do it, and then you see if it works. And if it doesn't, you just wasted a lot of time or resources, money, whatever. So it's a really important skill to teach students as well. And I think if we have too much instant feedback, which students love instant feedback, there's a lot of value in instant feedback. If we have too much instant feedback, it lowers the opportunity for self-validation. So I think we have to be a little careful about how we're giving feedback to students. So what do I mean when I say self-validation? There's a few things. So we could ask our students, does this answer make sense? And I love asking students whether this answer makes sense because it makes them have to remember what the question is asking, right? We all see this all the time. A student will get to the end and they'll be like, is this the answer? And it's like, well, I don't know. What's the question? And nobody remembers the question. I don't remember the question either. I have to ask that for myself. What was the question? I have no clue. We need to always teach students to go back and remember what the question was, because how do you solve a problem if you don't know the problem? That's good relationship advice too, actually, but that's a different podcast. Okay, so we can ask students, does this answer make sense? If we're trying to find what is the temperature of the coffee after it's been sitting in the room for 5 hours and we get the coffee is negative 60 degrees Celsius, we may have made a calculation error. Okay, so application problems are really great for asking this, right? Because if the coffee is negative 60 degrees, there's probably a problem. If we find out that we need to make our roof 300 feet tall, there's maybe a problem. If we find out that, the Farmer Joe is going to have a pen that is 1 foot wide and 500 feet long, that's probably a problem. Anytime we have a physical application type question, asking our students, and we can incorporate this into homework assignments, and I'm saying we should be incorporating this into homework assignments, does the answer make sense? We can also do this different ways for different types of problems. We can have students ask themselves whether they can check the answer. If they're solving an equation, they can check the answer. They can plug things back in. Plugging things back in helps them check the answer, but it also ties into what solving an equation means. Solving an equation is just finding all the values that make the equation true. And a lot of students, right, can miss that connection a lot. And when you have them or force them to check their answers, and again, I would encourage you to allow them to use technology to do this. I don't want necessarily students to take 30 minutes to check an answer, but plugging something in with technology can be much quicker and really can reinforce some concepts for what solving an equation means. For inequalities, it's harder to plug things in, but we can have students plug something into something in from the solution set. And something that's not in the solution set, does that make the inequality true or not? This is really great because when students are solving inequalities, a lot of times if you're solving an inequality that has infinitely many solutions, for example, your x's or whatever variable might cancel and you're left with 1 is less than 3 or something. And students don't know what to do. 1 is less than 3. What do I do with that? And when we try to get them to plug in different test things to check their answers for inequalities, that can really kind of help them understand that, if you get to 1 is less than 3, and if you didn't make any mistakes, that's always true. 1 is always less than true. If it's always true, then maybe our solution is anything, right? So there's so many advantages of having students check answers. When students are doing integrals, right, you can have them check by taking the derivative, extremely useful for remembering differentiation rules and stuff like that. There's lots of ways that students can check their answers mathematically like this. And again, allowing the use of technology is really going to help a lot with this. Another really cool way of doing self-validation is having students approximate the answer to see if it's close to what they got. For example, if you're finding log base 2 of 10, log base 2 of 10, if students can approximate what that should be equal to, and then use the change of base formula or whatever we're having them use to approximate this, or a calculator used to approximate this, knowing what kind of an answer to expect is going to be really, really valuable. Students should be able to say, log base 2 of 10. Well, 2 cubed is 8. 2 to the 4th is 16. So my answer should be something between 3 and 4 to figure out what exponent I have to raise 2 to get to 10. Or if they're doing an integral, right, a definite integral, and they have a picture, they should be able to be like, well, what do I think this area is roughly equal to? Can I draw like a box that has roughly the same area as that shaded region and do a quick calculation? Or can I break this into triangles? That has connections to Riemann sums in the trapezoid method. And again, whenever we have students do this self-validation, not only does it increase their critical thinking, it also leads to tying in different concepts to reinforce all their learning. Tying into previous concepts is going to help them remember material. It's going to help them understand the material better. It's going to tie into future material. There's so many benefits to this self-validation. If students are finding a derivative, again, if there's a graph, they can use a secant line and say, is it close to this? Or My answer is negative, but it should be increasing here, shouldn't it? Again, tying into great things. Plugging things in with a calculator. Let's say a student is solving an equation and they get an answer. And again, we should be explicitly telling students to do this on their homework assignments. And there's different ways that we can motivate doing that. But we should have this be explicitly included on their homework assignments. We should be building these skills for our students. But yeah, again, if they're solving an equation, maybe if they don't have access to a calculator, telling them just do a bunch of approximations and see if the equation gets close to true. Because if you do a bunch of approximations and you get something that's really far off, maybe you made a mistake. But if you do a bunch of approximations and it's like, well, yeah, 5 is pretty close to 5.5. Maybe it's the right answer. It's certainly not obviously the wrong answer. A lot of ways of approximating the answer to see if it's close. Anything geometrical as well is very, very good to do this with. Oh, I didn't realize I was so passionate about self-validation. But the last example we're going to give for different ways that we can have students do some self-validation in our homework assignments is have them talk to other students. So like, what does my classmate have as the answer? Are they right or wrong? Are there multiple answers here? If so, are they both right or are they different? Or why might it be right? Why might it be wrong? Have those discussions. Again, talking about math is extremely, extremely important. And again, a lot of this ties into our next section on the logistics of our homework assignments, because my big thesis for this section is that instant feedback can sometimes get in the way of critical thinking. So how do we find that balance? And it's something we have to experiment with, and it's going to be different for each of us. So the final big section of this episode is going to be talking a little bit about some logistics of designing homework assignments. Are we designing online homework assignments? Are we designing paper homework assignments? What are we doing for answer keys? Are we giving instant feedback for online problems, all the online problems, some of the online problems? Are you giving it afterwards? How do we align these with our expectations as instructors? So we'll start by talking about online versus paper homework. And I'm not going to make the case one way or the other for whether you should do online homework or paper homework, because I would say it actually doesn't really matter. But before I even talk about online versus paper homework, I want to, again, talk about something that's very important to me. Writing math is important in a math class. And this is not me saying that students should be doing paper homework. It is me saying students should be writing math in your homework assignments. So if you're doing a paper homework, again, that's much easier to have students write their math. But if you're doing online homework, I would highly encourage you to have students submit work and have that work be necessary so that students are still writing down math. You know that they're still writing down things. You know that there's still a process that you can look at so you can see a student's work, see a student's thought. And I'm not saying you have to look at them for every homework assignment, but if something comes up, you can look at something. You're like, oh, I noticed the student's always doing this on quizzes. I wonder if they're doing this on the homework assignment, or whether they're just panicking or something like that. Who knows? But having students submit their work and having them do paper work for online homework assignments, I think is very, very important. And again, if you don't want to look at that or grade at for each homework assignment, there's other ways of dealing with it. You could have them, do it all in one notebook or a journal, and then halfway through the quarter, submit that. However you want to do it, right? There's lots of ways to make this manageable for us, but I think we should be requiring students to write their math if we're requiring homework. And I think most of us are requiring homework in some fashion. So why is writing math important? Now, most of us probably don't need to be convinced that it is important, but maybe you are, I don't know. But there is, research that shows the effect of handwriting on memory compared to just typing, and memory as well as learning. One such paper is called The Neuroscience Behind Writing, Handwriting versus Typing, Who Wins the Battle? That's by Murano et al. But, this this area of research is flooded with results, I think, about the benefits to writing things by hand. And math is no different. And I would say math is even stronger of an importance for this because most students are not really typing math in a legible way in the first place. Anyway, so there's writing math is useful for memory and learning. And also, I think one of the traps of online homework, and again, I'm not trying to bash online homework. I don't want my bias to come through. But one of the traps of online homework is that a lot of times in online homework, we're filling in boxes. And when we're filling in boxes, there's this insidious thing creeping up on us, not to be dramatic, but it leads to a mixed characterization of what is the answer, right? A lot of times in math, it's like, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? 5 is the answer. Box 5. Box the answer. But sometimes in math, the answer is the process. Sometimes in math, the answer is the whole solution. Sometimes it's the proof, right? Like the answer is not just whatever goes in the box. If I tell you to find an equation for this function I graphed, and you give me a quadratic expression, that's not right. It should be a function. Functions have inputs and outputs. Functions have equalities. Right? There has to be an equation for us to graph something. You can't graph an expression, at least how I'm aware of. And maybe that's splitting hairs, but I think it's important. And I think when we're just filling in boxes, I think we'll just be like, oh yeah, x squared plus 5x minus 2, that's the answer. And so I think if they're not just writing their math down, if they're just filling in boxes, I think that can be a little harmful. And then a lot of us have online homework, but not a lot of us have online quizzes. Some of us have online quizzes, but I think whenever possible, we should have as much similarity between our homework and our written assessments as we can. I think this is something where my music background actually really helped me, I think, as an instructor, but we should be practicing how we're trying to perform. And as teachers, we should be having students practice how we are asking them to perform. So if you're having students take quizzes and tests and you have their homework assignments look nothing like quizzes and tests, we're not setting our students up for success. So I think asking similar types of questions on our homework assignments as we are on different assessments is very useful. I think if we're assessing a lot with written examinations, having the homework problems feel similar is important. I gave an example in the previous episode of we asked students to evaluate 20 derivatives and then ask a conceptual question on the quiz and wonder why they don't know the answer. We need to be aligning those two things. We need conceptual questions on the homework assignment if we're going to ask conceptual questions on a quiz. So aligning those homework assignments is going to be important. I can't. Cut. Oh gosh. The cat feeder. It ruined my flow. Oh my gosh. I'm glad y'all appreciated the Farmer Joe. That's not in the outline. That was not in the notes. Farmer Joe, all improvised. Dork's gonna eat cold coffee because he doesn't use Newton's law of cooling. All right, I think I'm just gonna keep. No, I can't keep the cat feeder. You can totally hear the cat feeder. But I was on such a rant. I was on such a tangent. I don't know how to splice that together. Maybe I just rewind a little bit. No, I don't know where I was. It's okay. We have the clip. Let's consult. I hope this is not loud. Wonder why we need to be aligning those. We need conceptual questions. Oh, okay, we can cut it right there. Yeah, and I know my desktop's muted, so you can't probably hear this. We need to have conceptual assignments on the homework. All right, and then we can lead that into the next point. It's so loud. All right, yeah. All right, good. The cat feeder is so loud. All right, all right, what am I gonna start the last one? This video is so long. All right, yeah. So I'll just conclude that section of like have online homework, have paper homework, but try to have students be solving the problems as similarly as to other assessments as they could. No, maybe I should tie in that there's not just homework and quizzes. There can be projects. There can be oral. Yeah. Oral quizzes. What are some other ways that people assess? Any discussions? We should be, yeah. And then conclude that. And yeah, this is just writing math is important. Yeah, I went on a tangent. All right, I think we're ready. Similarly, if our assessments are project-based, having aspects of the homework assignment like build up to projects is going to be helpful. If we have oral quizzes or oral exams, having some kind of spoken aspect to our homework assignments is really good. Like have students verbally explain something to a pretend student in a mirror. Take a video of yourself and like listen to it back, sort of a thing. Or if we're having like students, if we're grading students on how they discuss things with their peers, have their homework assignments kind of reflect that. But I'm getting on a bit of a tangent. I'm supposed to be talking about why writing math is important. But yeah, one of the reasons why writing math is important is to have similarities between your homework and your written assessments. Okay, so when might you want to use online homework? When might you want to use paper homework? So online homework is, of course, going to be easier for generating problems. You can get random problems. You can have students, I mentioned the importance of having optional practice, optional skills practice for students. Online homework is a great way to do that. They can just generate problem after problem after problem after problem if they need more practice. And that is a huge benefit to online homework. I think even if you don't like online homework, having an option for some online skills drill can be really, really beneficial. Online homework excels, I think, at like drilling and giving practice problems. Online homework is also a great way to share problems. You can share your own problems with other people and you can use their problems. A lot of people are very good at sharing things on like My Open Math, for example, and there's other online homework problem sites as well. So it's a great way for us to collaborate as instructors and get new ideas, which is really exciting. And then online homework is just kind of easy for students to submit a lot of times. They don't have to scan anything. Well, maybe they have to scan something if you're having them scan their work. They don't have to scan that much. They don't have to turn anything in person. That can be useful to submit things. in terms of the cons for online homework, I think, there's definitely a steeper learning curve for problem generation. And if we are busy, which most of us are, sometimes it's hard to find the time to learn how to write our own problems. And it's very, very easy to fall into the trap of, there are great homework problems out there, I'm just going to use those. And that's okay. Sometimes we need to do that, right? We don't have 80 hours a week to work on these classes. This whole podcast is talking about things that we can do, ways that we can enhance our teaching. But again, it's all couched in the reality that we only have so much time in the day. So, take what you can from this podcast and leave what you don't have time for. That's fine. But yeah, it's going to be a learning curve to writing your own problems, which means we're a lot of times not going to be writing our own problems unless that's a real passion or interest of us, or if there's a lot of professional development for it or whatever. And when we don't write our own problems, there is a disconnect. Any disconnect in our classes is going to be harder for students to learn. And yes, students should be able to reconcile the concepts that we teach with how other people present those homework problems. They should be able to transfer the skills that we teach to other people's classes and styles. But homework is not the way to do that, I think. Homework is where students are learning. Homework is one of the first stages on their learning journey for a lot of our students. And I think we should be teaching students transferability, but I don't know if the start of a homework assignment is really the best place for that. And then a lot of different online homework assignments, especially free online homework assignments, really run into some issues with accessibility. And we lose aspect to a lot of customization. We lose access to a lot of the tools that we can use to make things accessible for our specific students. Again, we want things to be accessible for everything, but we also have specific students that we can work with and give them what they need. And some online homework makes it hard for us to do that. And then why might we want to have paper homework? Well, it's kind of just the reverse of what I just said before. It's harder to generate a bunch of problems for paper homework. You have to come up with them all by yourself, or use AI and then vet them and make sure they're good. Or it's harder to share paper homework problems. It's harder to do skills practice, right? It's harder to do submission. And then again, on the flip side, one of the benefits to paper homework is it ensures that students are writing math, more similarities to written assessments, easier customization. So, online homework or paper homework, benefits to either, benefits to both. Maybe you do want to have both. I don't know, but lots of other things. The last logistics thing I want to talk about is answer keys. And I'm not going to go super at length on this, because it's something I'm still experimenting with myself, because it goes back to that self-validation. It goes back to the fact that having instant feedback can inhibit critical thinking in some ways. So I think in some sense, we should have some kind of feedback that's quick for students. I think students should be able to, especially early on in an assignment, check whether they're doing something correctly. So I think at least having some kind of partial answer key or partial instant feedback is very useful, again, whether you're doing online or paper homework. And we know that the tradition for a long time has been, let's give answers to the odds, right? And then, well, what odds are we asking? What evens are we asking? Who knows? Are we giving just the answers? Are we doing full solutions? Full solutions can be really helpful, but it's very time consuming. I don't know the answer to all of this, but whether you do partial solutions, full solutions, delayed solutions, so that, you want students to think, because once they submit it, that's when they can see the answer and check whether they're right, but it's already submitted. I think a mix of all of these have their own benefits. A key thing in addition to self-validation for why we need to be careful about how many answers we're giving students is, again, we want students to have that level of productive struggle. I think if we give an immediate answer to every single question, I think it's very easy for students to just skip to the answer. And I notice this myself. Like, I do some puzzles sometimes, and sometimes I just all right, what's the answer? And if the answer is right there, it's so tempting to just check it and be like, oh, how can I get there?
And there's benefits sometimes to reverse engineering the answer, but I think there's a lot of benefits to not looking at the answer because, again, the skills that we're trying to teach these students to use in their work, in their life, and in their future classes, they're not always going to have answers, and they need to build those skills of how do you approach a problem if you don't know what the answer should be. So I know AI exists. We talk a lot more about AI in a future episode, maybe multiple episodes if they all get as long as this one is. So I'll talk more about AI and teaching students how to use AI the right way, and how we can use AI the right way as well. But AI kind of interferes with this answer key, but it does, again, it's still an extra step that students have to take. So another thought is you can give the answer key after students submit. This works for online homework and paper homework. This makes things slightly higher stakes, which you may or may not want from your homework assignments. I think a lot of us really like how homework assignments are low stakes or letting students make mistakes and having mistakes be okay. But maybe you want students to think a little bit longer on some problems and really kind of do that self-validation to see if they can get the right answer. Have students come to student hours. Or office hours. And so maybe you want to make the answer key published. Maybe you want a hybrid, right? You have a partial answer key while they're working and then like a full answer key after they submit. Who knows? And then I want to close this section with a quick comment that in my own personal experience, I've noticed that students in my classes tend to try harder and spend more time on problems. Well, they're more willing to try problems that have answers. So I let students kind of choose how many problems they want to do with some parameters. And I notice that students are much more likely to complete problems if they know they can check the answer. So having a delayed answer key could be beneficial for that so they at least can know whether they get it right. And I tell them they can ask in class and I tell them they can ask in office hours. But of course, that is a lot of barriers for them to go through. And I think we'll close it there. Lots of stuff covered here today. So I want to summarize some of the main points that I made and tie things into some future episodes. And so one of the main things I want you to come away from this episode with is don't make skills practice the entire homework. Homework is there for students to learn. And yes, they need to practice the skills, but that should not be the entire homework assignment. I think we should also be organically including review and scaffolding to help all students. There's many benefits to doing so. And we can also tie problems into past problems in past classes, as well as future problems in future classes. And they don't have to be math classes. We should be explicit about the why students are doing things. And again, we have to know why ourselves before we can be explicit and tell students about the why. Having students self-validate in our homework assignments is going to be extremely important, and also writing math is extremely important. Those are the main things I want you to come away from this episode with. We have future episodes on quite a variety of topics. I actually don't think I want to talk about what is coming up. We'll leave you on the edge of your seats. But thank you everyone for listening. I really do appreciate your time. And if you enjoyed the podcast, I'd encourage you to leave a comment, share it with friends, colleagues, anyone involved in the educational sector, just anyone who's curious about math. I'd love to hear thoughts from students. I'd love to hear thoughts from professors, administrators, previous students. What was your own experience in a math class? Like, how was your own experience with homework assignments? And as we go into future topics as well, I think all of that is very valuable. So tell me as well what you think about this stuff, what you think about this podcast, what you think about the content. Again, my name is Jason Barnett. I teach at South Puget Sound Community College. It's pretty easy to reach out to me, so I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, night, wherever you are. Have a good one. Hey, Winja. I already said hi to you, but hello again. I for a while I was making all my homework assignments in big font because I noticed that big font is more accessible, but it's also just more friendly. I think when you're solving hard math problems and the words are all this big, that is no good. just like so much more intimidating, I think. Or having students read tiny graphs. And I know there's more to accessibility than just that. There's more than just visible accessibility, but it's what it made me think of. All right. I was thinking about playing another Slay the Spire run, but I think it's beautiful outside. I think I'm going to go for a run. We'll pause for any last comments or questions. But yeah, thanks everyone for hanging out. This episode will be edited and uploaded in a week from today. You can watch it on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Wow. I don't know how far I'm going to run today. I think I'm just going to grab my running vest and just go and see when I turn around. I'll bring some snacks, bring some water. I will listen to my own podcast or maybe an audiobook. Oh gosh, that's the wrong YouTube link. Well, it depends. I have like my video game YouTube and my math YouTube, but I don't really record video game content anymore. I'm much more of a math content creator now, which makes sense, I think. Yeah, how many pages actually was that outline? 1, 2, 3. It was 3 full pages with a little bit on the next one. The episode is an hour and 6 minutes long. That's too long. That is too long. I might cut some things. I don't know. I knew it was going to be long. It's so long. Yeah, great. Thanks, Cruff. All right, I'm going to log off. Get ready. Eat. Go for a run. Not long enough? Well, maybe episode 3. We'll just keep doubling. Take it easy, everyone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.